What is going on, everyone? It's Ultimate Spy 53 here, and welcome to another episode of Reviewed number 106. And today I'm going to be reviewing Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, the sequel to Guardians of the Galaxy, and the third movie in Phase 3 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, as well as the 15th Marvel movie overall. So what can I say about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2? Well, I actually liked it a lot. It was very funny. It just blew my mind when I first saw the movie in theaters. I remember seeing it on the day it came out. It was truly an amazing Marvel movie. It wasn't the best movie out of all the Marvel movies. I will say it is the better of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies because it's set in the same universe as the Avengers movies, but it's like self-contained, which is why it's so different. Which is why the movie franchise Guardians of the Galaxy is so different from the Avengers movies. Although they're in the same universe and they have all the same characters, they are very different in their own way. And that's why I like it a lot. It was just had amazing visuals. It had amazing music. I love the music. The music was great. It's based off of the idea of different like 70s and 80s songs essentially. The Who's Got a Feeling song that was only in the trailer. I was surprised to see that was not in the actual movie. It was in the trailer only, and I still miss it. But like, it's still a movie. It's still a song that I really liked about the first movie that did not make it into the movie itself, trailer yet, because it was supposed to be a callback to that. But it's a good movie, and honestly, I liked it a lot. It takes place about 2 months after the events of the first Guardians film, which kind of brings up kind of timeline issues with post Civil War MC timeline stuff because everything after Civil War kind of got confusing. Like I think after like Ant-Man it's obvious it took place after Age of Ultron, and then you got to Civil War, and then beyond that it's kind of just weird because Doctor Strange had a thing where it's like, oh, it took place around the time that Iron Man 2 took place, because we see the Avengers Tower in there, so it's still Age of Ultron type of thing. And then it wasn't until the end of the movie that we finally see Doctor Strange, Thor. It was just kind of weird, but like this is the first movie that like didn't make any sense, like where it took place in timeline, and it obviously does take place about 2 months after the first one, which is weird, but like it did bring up the whole timeline thing, which is weird, which is why in actuality you should be watching this movie after you watch the first one. Even though the first one did come out in 2014, you should still watch it in order like that. Like watch the second one after I watched the first one, even though they didn't release that way. But it's still important, and it's interesting because the first time I saw it, I laughed out loud a lot. It was so funny. It was hilarious, and it was the first Marvel movie that was actually pretty funny. Like one of the more funny ones. I mean, each Marvel movie has its humor, but this one I really bent a lot of that humor and made it really funny. And it just, I don't know, that they always make the funny movies, but like Marvel is a studio known for making more serious films in their superhero genre, and that's why the movie franchise has been so successful, because of the humor and the superhero genre of that, which is amazing. But also I noticed that the use of color in this movie was beautiful. Like it brought out the movie as it made the movie that's so different from the rest of them, because although it's a sequel, it's very much a different movie. Like from the first one to the second one, there's a big gap of only a couple months, but like James Gunn really did a good job in actually making the movie stand out to be a better sequel. And although I didn't hate the first one, I enjoyed a lot of the first one. It was really good, but I felt like the second one improved a lot about the first one. It had that. It still brought the idea of the first one to the story, but also it improved upon it, and we got a little more about we learned a little more about each character, which is really interesting, and that was really cool. It actually is the fact that I actually tracked the movie's progression of when they announced it at 2014, I think it was, or was it 2015? I don't know. One of the two. They announced Phase 3, and they announced, Civil War, Doctor Strange, and then they had announced Guardians of the Galaxy 2, or Volume 2 in this case. And I, I watched how they started filming it. It was from February to June, about 4 months of filming, and then they wrapped in June, and then I kept waiting, and then I got the first trailer, and then I just kind of waited until it released, and then I finally saw it, and it was basically the movie that I watched the development of the movie. That was really good. But also, one thing about this movie that I really liked was the villain. Now, when I first saw the movie, I didn't really know what his purpose was. I didn't know what Ego's purpose was. Kurt Russell plays Ego. He did a brilliant job with it. I didn't really know what his purpose was. Like, I didn't really get the idea of what his movie, or I didn't really get the idea of what his purpose in the movie was. Because when you first see the movie, you don't really get the plot a whole lot. Like, but especially if it's a plot that's confusing, unless you watch it a few times more, you don't really get it. Unless it's really a basic plot. But other than that, I didn't really understand it. And then I kind of understood, the more I watched the movie, the more I understood it. And that was why it was such an amazing movie. Kurt Russell, he did a fantastic job. The only thing I've seen in it was Sky High. But the interesting one on the Blu-ray, he doesn't actually appear on the Blu-ray. It's weird because he doesn't appear there at all. I actually have a poster on my wall. It's pretty cool, but this is the Blu-ray. It's awesome. But yeah, it was interesting that he wasn't, like, we didn't really know what his motive was. We know that he finally finds Peter Quill, Star-Lord, finally after all these years, and then he tells him his dad, and then we find out he is a planet who used the form to so he could meet Meredith Quill, the mother of Peter Quill, and then she got pregnant, and then he wanted to make more, expand upon the universe, and then, but unfortunately, because he couldn't do that forever. He had to destroy the universe. It got confusing. I still don't really quite understand how that works, but that's basically the idea, and it was really, really good. I like the fact that it was like that. And another interesting character that was introduced in this movie, aside from Ego the Living Planet, was also a character that I was also really interesting, and also just very mysterious, and that is Mantis. Now she's a new character that just like Ego, where we don't really know much about her except what she says, and she's this humanoid-like being, this female character, and she's basically the I guess this servant to Ego essentially. She becomes a guardian in the end of the movie, but she's this innocent young female protagonist of the who becomes a member of the Guardians of the Galaxy, and she's just interesting, she's the first character aside from maybe I don't know, Groot, or maybe even Star-Lord, who don't really, Star-Lord doesn't really have, none of them really have powers essentially, but I think the closest one that actually has actual abilities is Groot. In this version, he's Baby Groot. He's such a cute character. But Mantis actually has the first character to actually have powers, and her power is she has the power to feel feelings, basically her empathic ability. And it's really cool because, honestly, there's moments in the movie where she uses her empathic ability to actually, make Ego go to sleep, which is a really cool thing. But yeah, I like that. I like Mantis. She was very interesting, and the fact that Drax keep pulling at her leg, telling her she's ugly. It was funny. The humor in this movie was just well played, and it just, I don't know, it was funny, especially there was a lot of the jokes were nipple jokes, because Drax likes to do that. But yeah, I don't know, the first time I saw it, I thought it was hilarious, and then as I kept watching it, I don't know, the humor didn't really get to me. It was funny at times. Yeah, it was still funny, but it was just meh. But and then of course we have Groot, and he is an adorable character. He's obviously the same character as he was in the first one. He's just reborn essentially. Even though James Gunn recently said that Baby Groot in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is actually the son of Groot in the first movie, which makes no sense at all. It doesn't make any sense, but he is basically the reborn version of Groot, and he has a very baby-like voice, even though it's weird because Vin Diesel voices the character. That's actually his voice doing it. No, I don't think any modifications were in store. I don't think so, but it is. He's very just this innocent little character. He's so cute. He acts like he's a baby. Of course, he's a baby, and that's the idea. But like, he's just so cute. I remember seeing the trailer for the movie, and when I first saw him, he's just like, oh, he's so cute. I just love him. He's just this little innocent little version of a Groot that you just feel sorry for because he just gets all this stuff happening to him. You just feel sorry for him. But yeah, it had amazing visuals. I gotta say the use of color was really good, and the visuals, the visual effects, all that stuff was amazing. It had a lot of amazing stuff. With the space battles, it just made the movie really good with the visuals. Like, visuals are really important for movies. In this movie, it did a really good job with that. That's why I like it so much. And one thing about the movie that I really noticed was a huge change from the first one. And I actually asked this at Comic-Con last year, and I couldn't really get a straight answer. He just couldn't tell me, and that was Yondu. Now, he changed a lot in this movie, and when I was at Comic-Con, I asked the question, how has Star-Lord's relationship with Yondu changed since Volume 1? And he couldn't tell me that because obviously it was a spoiler warning, so he couldn't tell me that. And how it changed is not only is he just a different person, but also he loses his fin. He gets kicked out of the Ravagers. He gets a new fin. He becomes a better person. His relationship changes because he sacrifices himself at the end of the movie. Now, it's been quite a few months, so it really isn't a spoiler at this point. He's mostly probably seen it by now, but he dies at the end. He gives Star-Lord a this pack, this air thing or whatever you call this thing that make him survive out of space, and he basically sacrifices himself so that Star-Lord could live. And that was the thing that I was just like, it shocked me. Like, he's willing to sacrifice himself so that Peter can live, and that's something that's really special. That's why the character changed so much. It was because it was just so different, because you don't really see that a lot. So I was really shocked about. Like, he's changed because he's willing to sacrifice himself for Peter. And in the previous movie, he was a jerk to him. He was just a complete asshole, and he tried to eat him, or it was like a funny joke thing. But like, we just see him like he tells Peter, he may have been your father, but he wasn't your daddy. And I was like, he was basically his daddy figure. That was the amazing part about it. I mean, he's basically the same character. He's a new Finn, because all their own the little spot on his head would just got removed, and that was pretty much it. So not much really to change about him. He's just basically the same guy. He has his more badass in this one, but yeah, I like his power, his ability, which is to use an air, make it fly and have it kill people. It's pretty awesome. So yeah, I like that a lot. Again, I was saying before with Peter's heritage. Start when because in the first one we know that Star-Lord, Peter Quill, he doesn't really know where he came from. We see his mom die and that's it, but we don't really know much about it. And with the introduction of Ego, we kind of, I knew who the character, I don't know who's going to be the villain / the new character, who is Star-Lord Jet in the next Guardians of the Galaxy movie. Oh, it's Ego Little Planet, which I know nothing about, but I've heard of the character a lot through videos and stuff. And it was interesting because this movie, it was about family. That was the part of the movie. It was about family, learning about Peter's father and where he came from, and just how each character has we learn about a little more about Zoe Saldana's Gamora, the relationship with Karen Gillan's Nebula. We just kind of learned how their relationship is. It was explored more in the movie because it wasn't really explored much in the first one. Like, they hardly got any. I don't think they got any screen time at all in the first one. And in the second one, we get to know, we get the name drops from Thanos because he's the big bad of the next Avengers movie. But we also just get we get the backstory of how the fact that Gamora, like, every time that she fought Gamora in combat, Thanos would replace a part of her with a swimming with like a robotic part. It was the really crazy part, and like all the Gamora wanted, or all the Nebula wanted was a sister, and it was just like it was amazing to just see that family relationship change. You just see more of the backstory, which I thought was really wild and interesting. And I just felt it was like we see them like you know. I mean, there obviously has the same kind of tension, but it's better in the second one. It's just a lot better in the relationship. We learn more about why they have differences, that kind of thing. So that was really cool thing about the movie, and it does not set up for Infinity War at all. Actually, it does set up for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 because there's a character into the movie that's like revealed, like his like birthing plot is revealed, not the character himself, like like his origins are revealed in this pod, and the sovereign priestess basically says, I'm gonna call this pod Adam, basically, and that's the setup for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which is gonna be in 2020, so it's gonna be the next one. So it does not set up for Avengers 3 at all. Although they're featured in that movie heavily, but they're not. It is not at all a setup for Guardians 3, which is really surprising. But of course, like I said before, it does mention Thanos several times. We get a lot of Thanos, like, oh, not our Thanos, oh, Thanos will pay, that kind of thing. All this stuff. It doesn't mention him because he was in the first one, but it does not set up for Avengers Infinity War because that movie takes place Guardians story-wise. It takes place about 4 years before, like, the events of Avengers Infinity War take place about 4 years before, like, where we see the Guardians in about 4 years since Guardians 2, so that's where we see them in the Avengers 3 movie, or Infinity War, if I want to call it that. Well, it is actually called that, but it's people like to refer to it as Avengers 3. It's interesting because I would have expected we see a little something about Infinity War. We got nothing. It was all about the next movie, and I was just not affecting them because we would think that the next the next big thing would be Avengers Infinity War, which it is, but it's not. But in terms of their story, it is not as actually Guardians 3, which is the next one. And it is not a superhero movie its own way. That was what I was really thinking about it, like, why the Guardians of the Galaxy movies are sort of different from the Avengers movies, because it is a superhero movie, but in its own way, it's not, because they're very different. The Guardians of the Galaxy are a very different team than the Avengers. They in terms of powers, all that stuff, they feel like more like a family instead of teammates. They just feel like family, and they work together. It really isn't much of a superhero movie. It does act like it. I mean, it is in the genre, but it really isn't much of a superhero movie. There are powers involved. They're like, Star-Lord he's a celestial. He has a jetpack thing. He has a helmet, really cool helmet. Gamora has his blades. Rocket has rocket instincts. All the rocket stuff. All the rocket stuff that he would have for Raccoon. Drax basically is just like, he's a badass. Groot has true abilities. Yondu has an arrow thing that flies around. Nebula basically just has a weapon, essentially. She's like basically an assassin. And Mantis has the empathic abilities, and that was the only really power part of that. So it doesn't really feel like a superhero movie. It is a superhero movie, but like it's very self-contained. That's why it's so different from the Avengers movie. Is why it's so different. That's why it's very different. Although it does have tech in it. It does have tech. And that's why the music was so good, because it uses music. The music was just amazing. I love the music. I thought that was really fun. But yeah, I really enjoyed the movie overall. It's a very good movie. It tells a lot. I was very interested to see how all the characters were used in this movie. It was interesting how David Hasselhoff was actually in the movie. David Hasselhoff, he's a singer and actor who was in the movie, he made a cameo appearance in the movie, and he's a big deal in the movie, and it was really fun to see him cameo in that after we find out that Ego had put a tumor in Meredith's head to kill her, essentially. And that was the big problem with the movie. I still didn't really understand why he wants to eradicate the universe, but why he extended upon things. I don't really know what the point with that, but I get more of the idea, but it's still a little hard to follow. But I get the idea of it. But yeah, I mean it's a very well done movie. I think that the soundtrack was the best part about it. They have a lot of amazing songs, and we just see how everything changes. We see a lot of the humor's very, very good. I liked it a lot. It has a lot of amazing moments in it, and I just thought it was very sad, but also it was very funny, and it was freaking hilarious. I can't remember a specific point in the movie that I found really funny, but hey, it got some great stuff in it. And the final thing I want to say before I wrap this review up is it had a total of 5 post-credit scenes. 5. That isn't a bad thing. Some people think it's ridiculous, but I don't think it's that bad. I think it's an interesting choice for a movie like this to have 5 post-credits. I mean, like Marvel is only known for maybe 2, probably only 2. I think that they had one with Kraglin, playing around with with the late Yondu's arrow, and ended up stabbing Drax in the chest. That was pretty funny. And we have the original Guardians of the Galaxy with Michael Rosenbaum, who played Lex Luthor in Smallville. We get, Miley Cyrus's other. Basically, we get the original Guardians of the Galaxy, which is really cool. We get Stan Lee's cameo, we get more of Stan Lee. We get the Watchers are there, and they're like walking away, and he's like, "Oh, we're my ride. I got one more stories to tell," which is essentially revealing that all those cameos he was in, even in the Sony and Fox universes, are all one character. He's just this Watcher guy. Like all these stories to tell, meaning his cameos actually mean something, which is really cool. And then we got a tease for Adam Warlock, which I've only just heard about recently. I don't really know much about him, but it was just crazy to see all these cameos. We got the original Guardians of the Galaxy, which I've only heard about in videos, so it was crazy. I think this is a great movie. The music is great. It has a lot of the same themes to it from the first one, but it's missing the Hooked on a Feeling song, which is only in the first movie. But I will say about the movie that really kind of rang a Civil War vibe to it, and also a Coraline vibe. The Civil War vibe was the trailer where it showed Star-Lord, Groot, Drax, Gamora, Nebula, baby, all this, and Rocket, Yondu, all that stuff. They had the title of the characters' names in there, kind of like how one of the Civil War spots had that, where Iron Man, Captain America, Black Panther, all the superhero names on the screen for the TV spot, and it was very similar how the trailer did that. It was interesting, and the other kind of vibe to it we had was the Coraline vibe, and the Coraline was obviously one of my favorite movies of all time, and it's still to this day. I love it, and it had the idea of you make a choice, you find out who your father is. Turned out they're pretty bad. Coraline made a choice. She finds out a different reality where her mother's actually, later turns out to be evil. It just kind of has an interesting vibe to it of that, where you find out that your dad is actually evil, and that vibe, because Coraline found out her mother was actually her other mother was actually evil in the end, which is wildly crazy. But yeah, that's all I can say. It's a very good movie. I was very impressed. One really interesting thing about the movie that I learned during the production of the movie was that Dave Bautista, who plays Drax in the movie, and also the follow-up Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and of course, and then just Infinity War and 4, the fourth one too. He didn't even, when he applied the makeup for Drax, he didn't even sit down. He spent hours and hours and hours in makeup, just leaning on something. Literally, that's how crazy he is. He got the guts to do that, and I just felt like it was really funny. And I think if I was to say my favorite character, 2 favorite characters are definitely Star-Lord and Rocket. I like Yondu a lot, but I think Rocket and Star-Lord are really good. Groot is adorable as always. He's one of the more powerful members, but he's just so cute, and he's this innocent baby. He doesn't know what he's doing, and he's always confused about things, and he's a very fun character. And his name showed up in the credits of that. You see Word being replaced by Iron Groot, was really funny, and then of course the Grandmaster from Thor Ragnarok showed up in the credits too, which is weird. They don't really. It's what are they doing? They're teasing future movies, which I already knew about. It was weird, but still, I really enjoyed the movie. It was a fantastic movie. It was visual-wise, it was very amazing, beautiful, all that stuff, and it did kind of have a video game reference to because of the Star Wars fighting. They used the video game sounds, and it was really fun, and also Pac-Man to show up in the end, which was awesome. That Pac-Man Easter egg was so cool. And they also had a Avengers style scene where they camera pan around and they show all the Guardians line up, and then we have Mary Poppins reference where Thor-Lord's Mary Poppins, is he cool? You bet he's hell yeah, it's cool. It's Mary Poppins, y'all. He's just blank again. That was fantastic. But yeah, I think that it was a really good movie, and As for a rating system, like I always do, I'm gonna rate it a perfect score of 10 out of 10. I had no problem with that, really. The only thing I can really say that I didn't enjoy as much was the plotline of Ego. He just, even no matter how many times I watch the movie, I always get confused by the reason why he wants to eradicate the universe. I never really understood that. But I guess it's kind of easy to explain, but it's also really confusing. I never really understood that. Even watching it for a fourth time, I just still haven't really gotten that clear idea. But that's all I can say about the movie. It's a very good movie, excellent. It's also the second movie to use the new Marvel intro, which is fantastic. I love that intro. It's so awesome. So anyway, yeah, that's all I can say. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Reviewed. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the like button. I really do appreciate the support. And if you're new to this channel, subscribe for more episodes of this series and other episodes that I do, as well as other great content. And I'll be back next time with another episode. Alright? See ya.